Bueno, bienvenido Peter, welcome Peter. Es un placer para nosotros como Nagrela Editores estar aquí de nuevo en Centro Sefarad y en esta ocasión presentando este maravilloso libro, La medicina en la Biblia, meditación, sexo, nutrición para una vida con sentido. Es un libro escrito por el doctor Peter Kash, por Linda Freeland y el señor Shmuel Einav.
Sí.
Es un libro escrito perdón, originalmente en inglés y hemos tenido la suerte de poder editarlo y presentarlo ahora aquí en la Feria del Libro con Peter, que va a estar en la feria filmando mañana y con mucha ilusión de poder difundir un poco el pensamiento de la Biblia y de un doctor tan polifacético como Peter, que he tenido el gusto de conocer. Lo primero, bienvenido,
Sí.
welcome Peter, we're going to speak in English.
Sí, gracias.
Aunque sé que tu español es un poquito... Está
Yo
bueno.
hablé español cuando yo soy 7, 8 años en escuela en Estados Unidos.
Qué bueno, qué bueno. ¿Y te gusta España? ¿Te gusta Madrid? Hemos estado comiendo hoy en Madrid y la siesta, este invento español, te gusta mucho también. Qué bueno. Pues bienvenido y es un placer poder tenerte aquí, tener tu libro en la mano y espero que se pueda leer mucho. Empecemos un poco de ti, cuéntame un poco de ti. Tú naciste en Estados Unidos ¿y qué te hizo entrar en este? I'm sorry, I'm going in English, I'm going in Spanish.
Está bien.
Está bien.
Yo comprendo.
Bueno, pero tú hablas en inglés, ¿te parece? ¿Qué fue lo que te convenció a entrar en este mundo?
Okay, fantastic. First of all, it's great to be back in Madrid, and thank you for having me. The journey has been fascinating. I'm very blessed that at a very young age, I had a direction to go in, a journey to start with. And it started early in my life at age 7 in 1968. My family, my parents are first generation Americans, and we lived in Brooklyn, New York. And then we moved to the suburbs called Long Island in a place called Belmore. And it was June of 1968 that my life started to where I am today sitting with you in Madrid. And we were playing on a Friday afternoon, hide and go seek. You play that here in Madrid and everywhere in the world. You run away and you hide.
El escondite.
Okay, beautiful. And we were playing 25, 30 kids in the neighborhood. And I remember one of the young girls from up the street, a girl by the name of Mary Ellen O'Brien. She was running, and she was 6 years old. I was 7. And I remember all of a sudden her wig fell off her head. And young boys and girls, we never saw a girl or a boy with a wig. And she was totally bald. And what little kids do when they don't know something, they laugh, and we laughed. And it was terrible, really terrible. But we didn't know any better. And she ran up the stairs to her house and crying. And I think about 3 months later, she passed on from pediatric leukemia. And it's the first time I ever heard the word cancer as a young child. And that led me to where I am today. So I'm a wannabe scientist. I was not smart enough to be a scientist. I wanted to be a scientist. But I realized at a young age, knowing your weaknesses is also a strength. You don't have to win the Oscar. You can win a supporting Oscar, and you have the same effect. So I decided to help scientists. And for 37 years now, myself with my partners who are mostly medical doctors, I have a doctorate in education, but it's medicine and science that is my passion. Some people love being a rock star groupie or a Hollywood groupie. I'm a scientist groupie. I love hanging out with scientists and researchers. And what's fascinating is that the first drug we got approved, that my peers, my partners who are doctors, was a drug from China called arsenic trioxide from a professor Ting Zhang. Zhang. And Professor Zhang became the Minister of Health of China. It's crazy. And he developed a drug called arsenic trioxide, and we got it approved by the FDA in 32 months. And the drug was for, guess what? Pediatric leukemia. So my journey from 1968 and then further in the 1990s, late 1990s, was a drug for this poor girl, Mary Ellen O'Brien, that if we would have had it, perhaps I could have solved it. You can't make this up.
Amazing, amazing. What is life? I mean, it's incredible how everything is connected, and you can only see the dots when you see it back. I was fortunate to meet you by pure chance, and now we're here in Jerusalem, actually. So let's talk a little bit about the Bible, because you seem you're a medicine man.
Right.
You're dedicated to medicine. What's the connection with the Bible and with the and with the Talmud and
Fantastic.
Why is that?
First of all, it's a great question. Unfortunately, Professor Shmuel Naiv, who was a co-author, unfortunately, he passed a few years ago from brain cancer. So I still include him because he was my partner, and such a nice man, a brilliant man with a great character, and I learned a lot from him. And my other co-author is Dr. Linda Friedland, who's originally from South Africa, from Johannesburg, but now lives with her family, her husband's also a doctor, Dr. Peter Friedland. Peter has a new book out. Also, he was the physician to Nelson Mandela. So he wrote a book called Quiet Time with the President. We could talk
Beautiful title.
We could talk about that later.
Very good. But I'm going to talk about your book.
Right. So Linda came, and the three of us wrote the book. And what we discovered is something fascinating. Can you believe that it's the #1 translated book in history? The Bible has been either translated, they don't know exactly, between 750 languages to over 3,000 languages in the last 3,400 years.
I didn't know there were that many languages.
Yeah, languages have disappeared. People have disappeared. The Midianites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Edomites, the Moabites.
I wish I could have been the publisher of that book. It would have been interesting.
Oh, forget about it. Forget about it. And in the Bible, the majority of the laws in the Bible have to do with health. The majority. So that was the connectivity that we could share with the audiences. And by the way, this book took 5 years of research. This was not an overnight oats book. This was a 5-year journey, and we learned so much about the book. And that's why we broke it down into different chapters, into longevity, which we can get into, sex in the Bible. It's the first commandment in the Bible is to be fruitful and multiply. The first commandment in the Bible. And as you read it from King Solomon and to others in the Bible, sex was spoken about very freely. Even Sarah speaks about at age 90 becoming pregnant.
I remember reading your book, the part of Solomon. Actually he wrote Kohelet, which you say that, but also what we read every Friday night, the book of Solomon, that is like a sexual book, actually, you know.
So allow me. So what's beautiful philosophically, and we're not taught this in school, is in the Talmud, okay, which comes after the written Bible. The teachers, the scribes of that time period, they wrote and taught that it's important that the woman, the wife, is the one that can desire and request sex, not the husband. The control is from the wife, not from the husband, which is beautiful. And you go one step further. They suggest and advise to please the wife before yourself, and they even go further to try to convince men, because you need to convince men, because we're the inferior species. That if they please the wife first, there's a better chance of having a male offspring. Although there's no medical data to share that, there might be superficial data. But then if you take it one step further, there is a ton of scientific data today that when a husband and wife have sex, you increase natural killer cells in the body to boost your immune system. you reduce the levels of cortisol in your brain, free-flowing cortisol. And when you reduce cortisol, you reduce stress. And when you reduce the cortisol, you reduce the free insulin in your body, which is a thermostat for your body, for your health care. You release endorphins, which control and help if you have pain, and helps mood swings. You increase your dopamine. And there's a body of evidence of thousands of patients, men that have sex with their wives, have a lower rate of prostate cancer if you have continual sex. And for women, it increases the pelvic muscles. It helps with menstrual cycles. It helps with increasing your estrogen. It's endless how it boosts the immune system. But in this day of age, with the amounts of stress that we all have, all of us, no matter where you are in the world, it really helps calm the body and take a break from the continued stress that we have, whether watching TV, economics, children, in my case, soon grandchildren. Thank you. Expecting my first grandchild. So sex is a beautiful thing and nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to be ashamed of.
You come from the medicine. You come from the scientific part, and you decide with your co-authors to analyze the Bible and see where are the links and where are the missing links, or how does this go?
May I? Let's look at another example. The word for kissing is nishika, to kiss. Nishika. Nishika. Hashka is another, means connectivity. When you kiss, first of all, again, you release endorphins and also oxytocin. Oxytocin is a chemical that is released when a baby is breastfeeding, and it gives great pleasure to the mother to have that bonding connectivity with the child. Same thing with kissing. You can release oxytocin as well and create a greater connectivity with your partner. But what's even more interesting, I think, is when you're kissing, passionate kissing, you use between 12 to 42 facial muscles. You're getting a workout. You're able to, instead of going to the gym, instead of doing aerobics or Pilates or whatever, you can also get a nice workout by passionate kissing. So it's a beautiful connectivity in that respect.
Very, very interesting. Let's talk about longevity, because you're going to be a grandfather, but you look like a teenager. So let's try to understand a little bit your connection and what the Bible, what the book talks about.
Beautiful. So I don't want to forget something. I want to say it first, if that's okay. So probably a lot of people ask me, what's the most interesting thing you learn? Everybody likes to have a superlative, and like, I have the best cardiologist, I have the best accountant, I have the best, the number one thing. So let me share the number one thing. For me, Dr. Friedland, Linda, something else. For Shmuel, something else. For me, it was in the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis and Bereshit, it says that God, and by the way, it doesn't make a difference of your religiosity, whether you believe God wrote the Bible, whether Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the Bible, or 10 men, it doesn't make a difference what you think. But what's fascinating,
you don't come from a religious point of view.
No, I don't. I come from a scientific analytical way, and try to be objective. But it doesn't make a difference here. So in the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis, it says that God says that humans will live to 120. They could have said 180. They could have said 100 to make it even. They could have said 90, but 120. And then in the last chapter of the Bible, in Deuteronomy, in something called Vizot HaBracha, when Moses dies, it says that Moses lives to 120. So in two places in the Bible, they used the number 120. And for me, that was wild. Why? Between 1935 and the 1960s, they were doing a lot of genetic basic research on the body. And actually, it was a woman scientist who first discovered it, that the telomerase, the genetic code in humans, is 120. Wow. Elephants are 65 years of age. Dogs are 17 years of age. McCoys, the beautiful birds in South Africa, 85 years of age. Greenland sharks, 400 years. So every species has a genetic code for a length of their longevity. And I find it fascinating. How did they come up with the number 120? So this is number one that I wanted to get across, that no one can explain that to me, how that number came about. And in the Bible, as I mentioned to you in the beginning, most of the laws have to do with cleanliness. What's fascinating is if you study the history, priests, nuns, Orthodox Jews in their time periods, generally in the medieval ages, monks lived longer than the general population. Why? They were the only population that would wash their hands and make a prayer before meals. A simple washing of hands. And it wasn't until later, I believe I stand corrected, here in Europe, I believe it was the 1860s, 1870s, Dr. Semmelweis discovered that when he was working with cadavers and then helping women give birth, there was a higher mortality rate. And he realized that he should washing their hands, I think it was with carbonic acid of some sort. And it took the American Medical Association 10 years to accept the concept of washing their hands prior to surgery and after surgery. So everything had to do with of cleanliness. The concept of quarantine, which is Latin, I believe,
Absolutely.
40, you see, came from the Bible. When you were uncleansed, you had to be out of the compound, out of the general area for 40 days and 40 nights. So it's in the Bible, many of the things. And then you look at the concept of even the apple of Eve. Do you know how many species of apples there are right now in the world? I know, I'm trying to act smart. They estimate 7,500 apples.
7,500
varieties of apples in the world today. The amount of fruits, figs, they mention in the Bible, huge amounts of potassium, calcium, fiber. Dates, tamar in the Bible. All of them have high concentrations of vitamin D and calcium. Honey is mentioned in the Bible. Probably the number one antibacterial, naturally, and antifungal food product that we have. Ezekiel's bread. Ezekiel's bread is in the Bible. There's 18 amino acids and vitamin B's that's in this very unique bread that is mentioned. So all these things are combined, and then you get probably the greatest gift that the ancient Hebrews gave to the world, and that is the Sabbath, the day of rest. People can't appreciate it, but TGIF, in my opinion, is probably the greatest invention ever. Thank God it's Friday.
Absolutely.
And by the way, even for animals, the ethics in the Bible doesn't just pertain to man. It pertains to animals. You're not allowed to take an egg from a nest unless you shoo away its mother first so it doesn't see you taking away the egg. You can't have a muzzle, a mask on two animals that are next to each other. It's not allowed. It's beautiful that the Bible gave ethos before there were ethics. They created the animal rights before there were animal rights. So that is the beauty of the Bible. It's not just medical, it's this whole concept of ethos.
Your book is a very, very interesting book. I think I find it very, 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 very interesting, especially coming from a non-religious perspective, analyzing what the Bible says and putting it up to date in today's medicine and today's technology. But yeah, the Sabbath is an invention that definitely can save the life of the Jewish people. That it has taken us through all of the diaspora, no?
And not just the Jewish people, all the people in the world. Everyone gets to have now a Sabbath. It was incorporated into everything in the world, and that's the beauty of it.
These are universal laws.
These are all universal
laws. This has nothing
laws.
to do with
nothing to do with religion or religiosity. In fact, everything in the Bible, I personally believe, is a human code of some sort. People ask me sometimes, is there a contradiction with all the modern medicine that's going on with stem cells, and how does that contradict anything that's in the Bible, and there's no contradiction. Again, in the beginning of the Bible, God says that we're going to be created in His likeness. It's written, and it's put in. His likeness is in two ways. It's His morality. You know, in the Bible, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Hillel talk about do unto others as you have them do unto you. And in the book of Matthew, in the New Testament, the same thing. It's spoken about being kind to other people. It's the golden rule. In Buddhism, it's the golden rule. So this is a universalism that is beautiful. But to bring it back to modern medicine, if we are created in God's image, why not in God's intelligence? He gave us these tools that in the next, if I told you in 1945 that in a decade polio would be cured, you would have laughed at me. People would have laughed.
Absolutely.
Okay. Within the next 10 to 12 years, the majority of cancers will be somewhat controllable. Today, if you have leukemia, and there's going to be doctors looking at this, if you have leukemia and lymphoma today, stage 4, you have approximately a 70+% chance of survival. Stage 4. Today, with the solid cancers, ovarian cancer, which is something I'm working on, pediatric GBM, glioblastoma brain cancer, which I'm also working on, and other cancers, colorectal, breast, lung, these are called solid cancers. In my prediction, with combination therapy, immunotherapy, targeted immunotherapy, checkpoint inhibitors, mRNA vaccines, stem and cell therapy, these things combine with artificial intelligence that will help us determine which receptor to go after first and in which order to put the therapies. We're going to be becoming very close to similar numbers to blood cancers within the next decade plus for solid cancers. And I believe it will also translate to autoimmune diseases. So diseases like Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, we'll be able to use these therapies in combination to tackle that. And it's almost godlike that we were blessed with this inherent intelligence. And by the way, it's global. The best thing about working in science, we work with people from China, we work with people from Saudi Arabia, we work with people from Abu Dhabi, we work with people from Sweden, from here in Spain, from Israel, from America. Scientists have one interest, and that's helping people. And there's no barriers. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm very optimistic of the future of humanity because I see it on a very basic level in science, that there's no prejudices, there's no, the end point, the end goal is working collaboratively together to reduce the suffering of humanity.
Well, this reminds me a little bit about the late Chaim Weizmann, who founded the Weizmann Institute of Science, who his logo was Science for the Benefit of Humanity. Science benefits humanity as a whole, and that's a little bit where you're focused, and I think it's a tikkun olam. You're trying to save the world, and I thank you so much. I thank you for having written this book. I thank you for having the book, and I want to tell everybody, all the audience, that all of the sales of the book are going to go for cancer.
To buy PlayStations.
For, explain to me a little bit more.
And then you could hopefully share in Spanish. We're buying PlayStations for children being treated in hospitals throughout the Spanish-speaking world, here in Madrid, Barcelona, Guatemala, Argentina, Panama, everywhere, Costa Rica, Cuba, I hope to go to. And we're going to donate PlayStations to the children wards, the Division of Pediatric Oncology, whereby, so children, when they're getting chemotherapy, can play with other children in Spanish-speaking environments. So a girl in Guatemala that maybe is getting chemotherapy for leukemia can play with a girl in Madrid or Honduras while she's getting treated for her cancer or his cancer.
Qué bonito. O sea, todos los ingresos de los autores van a ir para poder crear conexiones entre niños enfermos de cáncer en todo el mundo, que se puedan conectar y jugar entre ellos. no solamente han querido estos autores difundir que la medicina en la Biblia está todo escrito de antemano, sino que trabajan a futuro para intentar ayudar a niños hoy en día, y por eso te felicito y te agradezco mucho tu visita a Madrid. Espero que mañana puedas firmar muchos libros,
Sí.
y que niños se beneficien de tu labor.
Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias por venir.
And I'd be amiss. I don't want to miss. A very dear friend of mine, Miguel Gibron, from Panama, is helping coordinate with all the hospitals and with all the countries in South and Latin America. So I'm very grateful to have his help.
Well, this program is going to be seen in Latin America, so we hope that we have people from Panama joining us.
Oh yes, please.
We have clients in Panama, and we really hope that the book can be distributed all over South America. Thank you so much, Peter, for coming, and wishing you all the best.